I think temp staffing can have a little bit of a negative connotation for some individuals and organizations, quite frankly. From individual perspective, what I've always been so incredibly impressed with in my decade at Eastridge is a temporary role is oftentimes a way that you can get your foot in the door at an organization where you may not be able to before. Some of my favorite success stories back from when I was an entry-level recruiter were being able to get candidates placed in a spot where they wouldn't normally have been considered because they didn't have the right qualifications. But once we intimately understand the client, we can help them fill that gap that the candidate might not have been able to fill on their own, and then being able to watch them grow over time with that organization and have it be a catalyst for how they want to achieve their career goals has really been a beautiful thing. It is one of the biggest achievements, I think, for each of and every one of our recruiters is when you can actually have that type of an impact on a candidate's life. And then on the client side, I also find that some of our proudest accomplishments are when we are able to place a temporary associate with them who then becomes a really long-term valuable piece of their organization, whether they keep them as a temp employee for a long period of time or whether they quickly identify that this is someone that's invaluable to their organization and they convert to a direct hire employee. Our client portfolio that's utilizing temporary professional staffing really ranges. It runs the full gamut across a variety of industries, everything from perhaps a small financial or legal firm, all the way to, of course, the largest organizations in the world. And all of them can benefit equally from a professional temporary employee. There's a big difference between the perception and the reality of temp staffing in the business world. I believe the perception is typically that there are not necessarily high caliber candidates that are willing to take a temporary position. And quite frankly, we place incredibly pedigreed individuals in interim roles. Oftentimes we refer to them, even though they are also temporary assignments, or you often hear consultant work. Oftentimes those are still W-2 temporary employees. And these are employees that are making huge impacts on organizations, whether they do that for a very specific finite period of time or they go on to actually join and be part of the organization. I think one of the biggest perceptions is that the clients are not going to be able to find the caliber or skilled qualified candidate in a temporary workforce that they would in a direct hire one. Honestly, the market changes so quickly that is rarely ever the case. I think our clients are frequently pleasantly astounded with the caliber of candidates they're able to find on a contingent basis. And again, it allows them flexibility and agility in their hiring. It also allows them to try things out. It feels much less risky to hire someone and review them as being a temporary employee after that first 90 days introductory period than it can to start someone in a direct hire capacity. The reality is for most organizations, regardless of their size, it's very advantageous to have any percentage of your workforce be contingent to allow you to be able to have a broader candidate base that you're able to pull from at any given time, to be able to have the agility to flex up and down your workforce as needed, to be able to try new things and not have it be as risky, especially in states like California, I think is very favorable to our client base.